What's so funny?
I see you smirk. You just like about to go beyond the game.
Yeah,
here on 90.3.
Welcome to Beyond the Game on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Jacob Balk. Sitting across from me, Brandon Johnson, Dominick Arbolino, and Eric Fischetti. Guys, you pumped?
I'm pumped.
So many
Friday.
news, so much news.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Could you space it out a little? Oh, my goodness.
The best news in the world came a couple of days ago.
Finally, sports is getting interesting again.
Yeah,
and then
right.
eventually it's going to die out again.
Make New York sports great again.
Until
Hashtag
at least for me. But
Number to call if you have something on your mind is 516-572-7440. And we'll start with basketball. The Knicks finally fired Phil Jackson.
Me and Eric's beloved
It's a
Knicks.
miracle.
All right, let's do it. Yeah.
Finally.
Take it.
Okay, let me just start out by saying that Phil Jackson is the greatest coach that the game has ever seen. There is no question about that. But
the argument can be made.
It can be made.
A bunch of really good teams. That's the issue.
He had really, really good teams, but you don't get 11 rings by accident, and you have to respect that. This guy is the most worst executive in the league, and you know what? I'm going to kind of like... I'm going to show my age here, but it's going in the right direction.
You're 20.
I know, but just wait. Just wait.
He wants to be an old soul for like a couple
You watched
seconds.
SpongeBob as a kid, right?
Of course.
You remember Bubble Buddy?
Of course.
Yes.
I say we tip something over, so we fire Phil Jackson. The Knicks rise again. Now they go, now what? Okay, so now what happens is now we don't trade Porzingis. We see what happens with Carmelo. Honestly, this was probably the best news as a Knicks fan that I've heard all year.
I remember who broke it to you guys?
You did.
I did.
You did.
I did.
Well,
That's true.
I was up that night when Waj tweeted that the Knicks are seriously considering firing Phil Jackson. I'm thinking to myself...
I woke up in the morning, I was like, oh my God.
I'm thinking to
finally
myself...
happened.
That was the best news to wake up to.
Yeah.
Is this really going to happen? And sure enough, it happened.
But you know what? James Dolan waited too long, but he got it right.
To say that.
He got it right.
But even when the Knicks do something right, they do it wrong. This is the worst possible time to fire him.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Especially during free agency.
Like,
yeah.
they're not going to have a GM.
Exactly.
No, they got a
apparently
GM. They got
Steve Mills is going to guide them through free agency.
Oh,
But I know,
Steve Mills.
I know.
Hallelujah.
It's still scary.
I
yeah,
know
like-
absolutely nothing about him. He is so quiet. I don't even know what he does. I don't even know what he did when Phil was there.
I wouldn't know him if I ran him over.
Let me get my analysis in, guys.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Before we go into something next. Okay, so now this is such a bittersweet feeling. You know what I mean? I respect Phil ultimately. You know, nothing, hard feelings against him. But when it comes to being an executive in this league, you got to make the right moves. I mean, this team over the past 3 years only won 80 games and lost double of that. So 166 games they lost. Yeah, they lost 166 games. So that's not good as an executive. 1 year Phil was saying, oh, this is a rebuilding year. You get KP, you bring in Joakim Noah, you bring in Derrick Rose, Courtney Lee. That didn't turn out too well.
Courtney Lee was okay.
He was okay, but
everybody else was like...
He could have produced more at times, and Derrick Rose, I didn't like him during the season.
At the same time, though, you can't forget about all the hype that it brought, though.
It did.
I
was hyped, too.
On paper, it looked good.
I thought at least a playoff team, a 5th seed, but it didn't turn out to be like that. But Phil has just put so much disrespect on Carmelo's name. Mm-hmm. It's not even a joke. He's a professional, and you shouldn't be doing something like that.
I feel really sorry for Carmelo. Yeah. And I feel sorry for Porzingis, too. No one deserves...
Yeah. We're taking the best deal, if possible, he says. Come on. Are you serious?
Can you imagine if Phil pulled the trigger and traded Porzingis?
No. I hope Dolan
That's
would
probably why they
in.
let him go. They're like,
No. There was a report that came out that Phil wanted to buy out Carmelo, and Dolan didn't want to do that. And I'm almost
Dolan
convinced.
Likes Carmelo.
I'm almost convinced that that's what happened.
Well, there was a report that said that they still are looking to trade Melo, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I could get behind that type of a trade if it's a good trade, but Porzingis, no.
No, you just got to keep him, man.
That's ridiculous.
He's proven himself. I doubted him, too, when he first came into the league. I didn't know who he was.
Because he's an unknown.
And this guy, too, is kind of an unknown that we just drafted. But
Ntilikina.
Like we said, if Phil wasn't
the
there...
The triangle pick. I mean, what is going on?
It's a triangle world.
Even when Dolan does something right, he does it wrong. It's amazing.
All right. 2 things really quick. If Phil was fired before the draft, they would have picked Dennis Smith.
Yes.
So that would have been great. Yeah. But Right now, as we look at it, right now the Knicks missed this draft because Malik Monk was still on the board and he wanted to pick something that fit the triangle. But I honestly think that he's going to be okay. I really do.
I do too.
No, I don't doubt him at all.
I mean, it's
I think he's a
clear
great player.
also after the reports came out that Phil Jackson, I mean, he was getting paid a lot. So you have to realize that was probably
He
a
still
factor
has
as
to
to
own
why
the
he
money,
took the
too.
job.
Keep getting them checks, Phil.
Exactly.
Keep
like,
getting them
it was
checks.
probably 80% for the money and then 20%, hey, let's control this team.
Yeah,
I gotta feel. Well, no, actually, it came out like he was earning like $50,000 a day.
I know.
and it was
$750,000 per win.
That's
I think that's what it worked
crazy.
out to.
Wow.
And Brandon, you
that
brought up.
then it can't be that much. If it's
You
per
brought
win.
up
No.
that you brought up that they were going to be rebuilding.
Yeah.
Why do you sign Joakim Noah to that then?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, clearly that's a rebuild. Yeah, let's build around Joakim Noah, one of
was
the greatest Florida
injury-prone.
Gators, one of the worst New York Knicks ever.
Phil just kept rebuilding the roster, tearing it down, building it up, tearing it down, building it up, tearing it down. The Knicks need identity.
Yeah,
They do.
They
They
need direction.
never had the right motive. You know
And
what I mean?
who's going to be the captain of that ship?
It should be Porzingis. You know, that's going to be the leader of that team.
I agree with you immensely on the court, but off the court, who's going to be pulling the strings?
Let's say this because there's reports that John Calipari, reached out to the Knicks. No, I'm not. I don't want him at all.
He shut down.
I already told people that.
He denied it on Twitter.
Yeah, he
Oh,
tweeted.
he denied it on
he was
Twitter now.
like, nah, I had no.
He
He's
has
just
it
like
good
no.
against
If the
He
money
doesn't
was
wanna
coming
work for
his
those.
way-
He's in a good spot too. Like, don't come to New York. That's
Yeah,
where
Eric,
your career comes to die. Like,
Eric, you
please don't.
agreed. You would love having Calipari in the
As
front
a
office.
coach.
No, you
As
said
a
the front
coach.
office too.
Oh, I said front
You said
office?
general manager
I meant
too.
coach.
Oh,
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
because I don't think that would have been a good move.
Even as a coach, he wouldn't be good. He was New Jersey Nets coach for a little bit.
Ah.
Picked Kerry Kittles over Kobe Bryant. I'm still not over it.
Jeez.
Cost us at least 2 championships.
Yeah, true that.
At least. I'm lowballing. And Isaiah Thomas, too.
Oh yeah.
Did you
I
hear
am
that?
so
Isaiah Thomas?
I am so happy that he shot that. Like,
Yeah, I'm glad he
stay
shot
with
that
the
down.
Liberty. Just stay there. I don't want. We lived through the dark ages. I don't want to go through it again.
That's true.
And Eddie Curry had his picture shown more times than he was playing. I mean, you remember Eddie Curry?
I
Oh my
remember.
God!
I just
But
love
they're
the.
saying it like it's a long time ago. It was 10 years.
It seems like forever. It really does.
10
10
years.
years. 10 years seems like a long time. Like
That's
now,
a
Like,
decade.
I don't
to me,
know.
that's not a long time ago.
I just love the fact how all the talk about we want Phil out, we want Phil out. You got what you wanted now.
Yes,
so now
it's
what's
true.
the direction that we're headed in? That's
what's
the
the
most
next
important
move they
thing.
make?
Yeah.
You
Is
know,
it
that's-
David Griffin? Is it Masai Ujiri?
I think they should go
They
after him, man.
they shot that down, Ujiri.
Good.
because of the too expensive. That's
yeah,
why.
Good.
Yeah, too much
Definitely.
haul.
I wouldn't have left Toronto for New York if I was Ujiri. It's got to be David Griffin. To
I
me,
think
there's
That's the
not
best
even-
option.
I really think so. Also,
Right now, at this point, it is David Griffin, but I kind of want to explore the options because the only couple of names
You
that I
did.
heard.
You got Isaiah John Calipari.
Yeah,
That's
and,
it.
And David Griffin.
But what's the best decision? We're not talking about the pretty picture of a GM.
I mean, look
you
what
know,
David
but
Griffin
who's the
did
right
with
guy?
Cleveland.
Look
true,
what LeBron did with Cleveland.
But LeBron
Okay.
had a great input into the fact that he got Iman and JR over. I'm telling you, because at the beginning of the season, when he had Dion Waiters on his team and all the other guys, it didn't work out. They couldn't score, they couldn't defend, so they needed some more players to back him up and, ultimately go to the championship, man, that year. And ever since then, they just been hot, man.
exactly.
I
And
just think
LeBron
it-
is such a great GM in his mind. I'm telling you.
He'll be a good executive when he retires.
I think so.
if
yes.
he even wants to be an executive,
He might. He might.
I can see it.
Or he could do what Jeter wants to do and own the Marlins.
LeBron can definitely own someone.
LeBron can own
Yeah.
all of Cleveland.
Yeah.
He could be the
Unless he
mayor
leaves
of
for
Cleveland.
the Lakers. If he leaves for the Lakers, then no.
Oh my
Yeah,
God! Can
no.
you imagine if he leaves again?
I got a report. I think it was on Tuesday, and he's like, "I'll never be on a team in Los Angeles." or
No,
something.
he said
No, he
he
was saying
wouldn't
the
be a
Clipper.
Clipper.
"Oh, a Clipper."
I wouldn't blame him either.
I was going to
so
say,
never mind.
and that flows perfectly into this next story. The Clippers trading Chris Paul to the Rockets for Patrick Beverly, Sam Decker, Montrezl Harrell, Darren Hilliard, who was subsequently waived, DeAndre Liggins, Lou Williams, Kyle Wiltshire, their top 3 protected first-round pick in 2018, and $661,000.
Nice.
Did you get all that, or do you need me to repeat it?
I think
No,
that's great.
Said it clear enough.
Absolutely, this was a trade for the Rockets. All right, so you got a guy, James Harden, who's already a point guard. I don't know how that's gonna work out because Dan Antoni loves
He's a
him at the
born
point.
shooting guard. Harden's a
I
born
know, but
shooting
he
guard.
played so great at the point guard. It's like I don't think he wants to transition to that role.
I feel like they'll make it work.
Yeah, no,
I think
really
they're gonna
they will.
on the list. They're gonna put Paul at point guard, but I feel like most of the time Harden might take the ball up the court.
Well, the Cavs do that. Kyrie's listed as the point guard, but it's
Yeah,
usually
LeBron.
LeBron
Yeah,
bringing
okay, got you.
the ball up.
that
They're
happens
going to
a lot.
alternate.
But
They're
the
gonna
only
alternate.
thing about this is just gonna be more competitive against the Warriors, but they just ultimately can't beat them.
No, of course
it's just
not.
sad.
This
I
was
mean,
just to gear up for the Warriors.
that's
it.
all it is.
And, it goes back to what I had said last week. What's the motivation for a team to get better when you got the Warriors and the Cavs?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
I commend Daryl Morey for doing this. I commend him for making a huge push for Chris Paul. And I commend a team like the Celtics for looking to sign Gordon Hayward and Blake Griffin. They want to win championships. I have nothing against forming super teams. I hate them. But I totally understand why they're doing it.
Of
And they want to
course.
try and land Paul George, too.
Yeah, no, I heard that they were trying to land both Gordon Hayward and Paul George.
Oh
Like, if
my
that
God.
That would be
happens-
I don't know.
sick.
And then
How would that
they
work,
even said
though?
they'll give
Yeah.
up Kelly Olynyk, like they have to give up Kelly Olynyk. No, well, honestly, I don't know because you have Isaiah Thomas, then
He's a scorer.
Avery Bradley, who I don't think you're going to put like
He's
as
passive.
a six man or like a bench player.
He's been there forever, too.
Unless
defensive
unless
player.
they get rid of him, but then you would have Gordon Hayward. Say Bradley's not in the starting lineup, you would have Isaiah Thomas, Hayward, Paul George,
Horford.
Horford
and
at
Gordon
center.
Hayward.
Amir Johnson.
Well, Johnson's a free agent.
Okay, he's a free
and
agent.
also I would
And
assume
Jay Crowder,
I would
right?
assume Jay Crowder's out of there too. If they
that's a
Wow.
super team to the next
That's a
level.
who's their
Scary.
power forward though?
That's what I'm
I think
saying.
they're
They
gonna
gotta figure that out.
I mean, they have Olynyk, but they're probably going to get rid of him.
They
if
could bump
have to do
PG
that.
down
I
at
was gonna
certain
say Paul
times.
George
He
could
could bump down play power forward. That's not his true
He could.
position,
All right,
but
then
I
there you
mean,
go. So then Gordon Hayward would play small forward and Bradley play shooting guard.
okay. I mean, that sounds incredible, man. I'm
that
telling
would
you.
be that's crazy.
Then
But
the Cavs
is that
can't do
enough?
anything.
But is that enough to beat the Cavs?
I-
It
Should be.
might be.
I think
I
it
think
should
so.
be.
It would be
I
a
think-
great series. It wouldn't be a
Are you
5-game
kidding me?
series.
Isaiah Thomas, Gordon Hayward, and Paul George. Like,
That
all on the
matches
same
up pretty
team?
well with
That's
LeBron, Irving, and
crazy.
Look,
Love.
because look who LeBron really has. All right, in the starting lineup, Kyrie, great player himself. Kevin Love, who's a shooting guard? Jr. can't guard Paul George or Gordon Hayward.
And nothing
Tristan
against
Thompson,
and nothing
too.
against Thompson.
Oh, nothing against Thompson
Thompson's
either.
good, but like
Yeah.
it's not like
He's a big dude, and if they go
not-
small ball, that's going to be a problem.
I feel like Tristan Thompson gets overwhelmed very easily.
like he's
You're
one of
listening to Beyond the Game on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Jake Valk. Sitting across from me, Brandon Johnson, Dominick Arbolino, and Eric Fischetti. Number to call if you have something on your mind is 516-572-7440. And we'll stick with basketball. NBA free agency starts tomorrow.
Excited.
With that in mind, Brandon, what do you think our local teams
I
will
think,
do?
as for us as the Knicks, it's going to be a hard thing to do because, especially in terms of money with Carmelo Anthony, he's still owed over $50 million. What we need right now is a point guard. I remember we mentioned Jeff Teague,
Yeah.
which I'm not really a fan of too much
I wouldn't
because
mind that.
I feel like he didn't play well in Indiana's system, last year because Paul George didn't feel like they had a great team, you know what I mean? But coming to New York, getting out of the triangle, I feel like he could be more of a shooter, more distributor, and it will work out pretty good.
And you know why I honestly think that Teague will work? Because Phil Jackson's not breathing down Hornacek's neck anymore.
That's true.
So Hornacek can run his own system. So we'll probably see what happens. I don't mind the idea of Jeff Teague. I liked him because they wanted to go after him during
Yeah.
the trade deadline. Was it last year, 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago.
And I would have welcomed that with open arms because the Knicks had trouble with point guards. Derrick Rose was like on again, off again, okay this year, but I don't see him coming back. I think Jeff Teague will be the biggest move the Knicks will make, honestly.
On again, off again. You mean on the injury list and off the injury list?
And then
Always
going to
that.
Chicago without telling anybody.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was
That
awesome.
really
That's a
That was a
smart
great
move.
look, wasn't it?
Going back to Phil Jackson for a minute, I can understand him being upset about Porzingis missing the exit meeting, but
Definitely.
when your star point guard, the guy who you handpicked to lead the triangle, is going to Chicago without telling anyone, I expected to see him on a milk carton. MIA,
carton.
Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. The double standard was amazing. I couldn't believe it. You're going to trade Kristaps Porzingis because he misses the exit meeting. Oh, my God. Call the police. Derrick Rose goes to Chicago. Yeah, it's fine. It's all good. The most inept best executive
Yes.
in the NBA is gone.
And going back to like missing exit meetings, Shaq and Kobe did the same thing.
It's ridiculous.
But then again, they're Shaq and Kobe. But Porzingis isn't there yet.
He's the best player on the Knicks.
He is.
He can get there. Yeah. He can get to that level of dominance.